Time again, ladies and gentlemen, for another review. And this time, I am going to prove that I fucking hate everything. If you don't understand why I say that, you need to go watch my review of Ragdoll, which I posted probably before this. So, today we're going to be reviewing Aftercare Instructions by Bonnie Pipkin. This is probably one of the worst fucking books I've read all year, and that should come as no surprise because it's aimed at small babies, otherwise known as teenagers. So Aftercare Instructions, as you can see by this sad eyeball with a tear, it's not about a gangster that's murdered someone. That's not what that tear is about. It's actually a representation of how this book is essentially just tragedy porn. If you've seen the film Precious, you know, people call them films like that Oscar bait because they're like trying to get their dramatic moment. I refer to those films as tragedy porn, and this book is in fact tragedy porn, the book. Let's talk about some of the things that we're going to have in here. What the book is about a girl called Genesis, because if you've written a YA book, you have to give your lead female protagonist the fucking stupidest name on earth. It's a rule. Even good YA books like The Hate You Give, they have to follow that trend. You can't just give them a normal human name, even if they're just fucking plebs, like in this book. So it's about this girl called Genesis who finds herself unfortunately pregnant and decides to have an abortion, and her cunt of a boyfriend decides to leave her there while she's having the procedure done. And then after that, just some bullshit happens that you would see in any sort of YA nonsense book. It's really fucking awful, the way it uses something as serious as teen pregnancy as a catalyst for its fucking cookie cutter love triangle, no communication, teenage like angst romance plot. It's really fucking terrible. I can't really go into the depths of its awfulness due to spoilers, but rest assured, not only is Genesis's life fucked from that, she's also got an angsty mum subplot, and she's got like her best friend is doing something, and there's like this fucking awful bad boy older guy character who comes in to the story halfway through. And so for some reason, I'm not sure why this has been done. I think it's just because Bonnie Pipkin couldn't be fucked to write narrative properly in the book. But a lot of the time, between chapters, we get sort of huge sections of what I assume is flashbacks, but they're written like a stage play. This is very tenuously justified by the fact that Genesis's dad was in a play once, or was a playwright, and then there's like a bit in the book that involves a play, but it's not a big subplot or anything. It just sort of happens over the space of 20 pages. And so all of these, I'm assuming they're flashbacks and not intended to be like dramatizations of anything. There's flashbacks of the time before the abortion thing happened. And everyone, like, I don't understand why, like, it's so tenuously justified to include as a huge chunk of this book. It's literally in between every chapter, and it makes the book read a lot quicker, because obviously, like, every 15 pages or so, you get about 10 pages of just dialogue without any need to be skilled in scene setting or anything else. Literally just dialogue, tedious fucking expository dialogue. And then let's see, what else can we say? Oh yeah, I mean, everyone's a prick in this book. Like literally every character is a piece of shit, including Genesis herself. In fact, probably more so Genesis herself than anyone else. Her boyfriend who left her at the abortion clinic, I mean, obviously he's just a fucking bellend from that. And where like there's huge chunks where Genesis is pining over him, like, oh, why don't you love me and return my phone calls? Like, and this guy's done probably one of the worst things you could do to another person. He doesn't really seem that good even before that. There's all these fucking really hacky, cliche, love, like insta love sort of things. Like we don't get the impression before they got together that they were even like had talked. He just goes on a weird first date with her, and it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, isn't it quirky? These quirky teens, like it's atrocious. Teens aren't quirky. They're just not grown up yet. They don't go on dates in hospitals, canteens, like in this book. That doesn't happen. It's fucking stupid. There are consequences to actions in the real world. Obviously, with a subject matter as significant, you would think, as this, you would think it's going to discuss some consequences. But actually, the whole abortion thing is just the top of the slope of how disastrous this character's life goes. And to be honest, after the first couple of chapters, not really brought up ever again. So it seems weird then that the chapter titles of this book, you'll see it's called Aftercare Instructions. The chapter titles of this book are titled after the steps in aftercare, I presume. There's things like the chapter's called like make sure you book your follow-up appointment, which like it sort of makes sense at the start because the chapter titles sort of relate to what's happening in the chapter, but as it goes on, much like the rest of the book, it seems that Bonnie Pipkin couldn't be fucked to keep that up. So you get towards the end, things like a chapter's called Support Groups Are Available, and it's about her making breakfast. It doesn't make any fucking sense. There's no point. So yeah, basically it's a horrible romance between horrible people. It exploits tragedy and serious issues to get headlines. I presume that's what it was trying to do. I don't think this was a particularly popular book. It's just tediously written. It's lazily written as well. Like all these breaks in there. I'll tell you what, a good book that used this sort of style, this script sort of style, to make sense is Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, because in that book, the main character makes shit films. That's like part of his character, and the book that you're reading is supposed to be something that he's written in, like it's written in character basically. So it would make sense that he, as a lazy teenager, would include that. But in this, it's just because the author couldn't be fucking bothered to actually pen a narrative, and she didn't want to sort of build up any sort of. You have to spoon feed. This is a big problem with a YA book. If the author doesn't respect you as a human because you're meant to be a teenager when you're reading this, what they'll do is they'll spoon feed you all the little background stuff, which is why we have to spend so long just being exposited to about what happened before the story. Really, this book could have been about 50 pages long with the amount of things that actually happen in it. I wouldn't be friends with anyone in the book. I wouldn't ever want to read about them ever again. But I probably will end up reading about them again, thanks to Catalyst Reads rereadathon where one of his topics is to reread a book that you hated. So I might have to pick this up again. Don't make me do it, Michael. I don't appreciate it. This is a garbage book. It got 0 stars from me, and it should go into the bin. But it won't go in the bin because throwing books away is a naughty thing to do when there are starving people out there that could just chew on the pages of this and get more out of it than I did from reading it. See you next time. Hopefully I'll be in a less angry mood. Bye!